Okay, today we're working in Blender 2.57, and we're going to be reviewing something on a tutorial I did back in Blender 2.4. And that is creating a swinging door for the game engine. And it's pretty much the same steps, but I've had some viewers ask me to redo it, so I'm going to redo it here. So here we go, we have our default cube. Let me go into top view here, wireframe. And I'm not going over all my key presses because I'm assuming you know the basics of Blender before you start jumping into the game engine. But I'm going to scale this down. So basically, I'm making a wall here. I'll grab it and move it over here. I'll clone it by hitting Shift D and then drag it over here on the x-axis. And then I will clone it again, grab it on the x-axis, move it so the center's right about there because that's where I'm going to want it to hinge. I'll hit tab to go into edit mode and I will grab it and move it on the x-axis like so. And now we can move this wall back over. Okay, so now normally the wall would rotate in the middle, but since I moved the center point of this piece right here, if I rotate it, it rotates like so, which is perfect. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit I, make sure I'm at frame 1. You can see that right down here. I have that wall selected, the one that's going to be the door, that cube, and I'll click I and click rotation. I'll go up 10 frames by hitting the up arrow, so I'm at frame 11 now, and I will rotate this like so. I'll hit I and click rotation. So now I can scroll through using my arrow keys, and you can see the animation. Okay. So now, let's add a plane for a floor. Go in this front view, grab that down on the z-axis there. Okay. And now let's add a cube to be a player. So we'll just add a new cube. I'll scale it down a little bit, grab it, move it back like so. Go my camera view, everything's looking good. Okay, now I want to change my physics up here, or my engine, to the Blender game engine rather than the render engine. And we'll go add a wireframe, and we will, with the cube selected, go over to our physics window here. I'm going to make it a dynamic, and I'll say collisions is a box in this case. And I'll also give it a higher mass, we'll just say 50. Just so things don't knock our player around too much. I'm not going to go too much into collision detection here because I've done a number of tutorials on that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to drag this up, create a new window down here, and line it up like so, so that I can say join area. And I'm just doing that just so that I can have a window that goes full length across the bottom of the screen here. Click here, and I'll go up to Logic Editor. And I'm going to add a property to the player. It doesn't matter what type of property it is, we just want it to say player. So, new property, player, with the cube selected. And we're just going to make it so we can move the cube back and forth. Let's drag this up a little bit here. We're going to add a motion here. We'll connect all three of these. I chose keyboard for this sensor. So I'm going to click here and press my up arrow. That will be my forward movement. And I'm going to move it on the y-axis 10 forward. So now if I start the game, I can hit P. And if I hit forward, you can see we go up and we hit that wall and kind of bounce back. Let's move our lighting. Things were dark there because the lighting's on this side of the wall. Go like so. And now, oops, I clicked render instead of P to play. Hover my key mouse over this window and hit P. There we go. The lighting looks a little bit better. Now you can't even really see the door. Just for fun, let's go back in here. And I'm going to scale the door on the y-axis, make it a little bit thinner. That way, when we're in game mode, you can kind of see where the door is because it's a different size than the other walls. Obviously, in an actual game, you'd probably add textures so you could see that it's a door easily. So I have a forward movement. Let's make a movement so I can back up as well. Keyboard and motion. On the keyboard, I'm going to press down arrow. So up arrow is forward, down arrow is back. Don't forget to connect these. We're going to move it on the y-axis for location, and we're going to go -10. So now I can go forward and back, forward and back. Perfect. That's all we're going to do for our player, because we're not going to create a whole game right now. Next, we're going to choose our door here. And we're going to choose a sensor. In this case, I'm going to choose near. And I'm going to say when something, an object with a property, and in this case, I'll say player. So anytime an object with a property of player, which in this case would be our player, gets within a distance of 1, it will do whatever we're going to tell it to do here in a second, and it will reset at a distance once it gets further than 2 measurements away. I'm probably going to change those after we start, but let's go ahead and just add this stuff in. We're going to choose F-curve. I think in 2.4 it was called IPO, but F-curve is our keyframe player. We're going to change from play to flipper, and we're going to say start will be 0, end will be 11. Not 1, I typed 1, we want 11. So when the player gets within 1 measurement away, blender measurement or blender unit away, we're going to run through the door frames from 0 to 11, which is our animation of it opening. Then, once it gets, our player gets 2 distances away, 2 measurements away, it will reverse that animation because it's a flipper. So let's go ahead and hit P. Our player gets close. It should have opened. Why didn't it open? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked, because I have no clue. Let's see. We spelt player right there. Our door is connected, flipper, start, and we have our animation still. Okay. Okay, so let me try changing our distances here. That may be our issue. I'll turn that one way up to 5, and we want the reset distance to be a little bit higher, so I'll just say 6. Let's see. Oh, okay, so the door opened that time. Oh, and it closed when I went away. Okay, looks good. Might be a little too high now. Let's set this down to 4 and set this down to 5. And we'll even make this plane a little bit bigger, give me a little more room to move around. Okay, so it opens when I'm that close. And closes when I get away. When I get close, it opens up again. Very good, very good. Oh, and it whacked me pretty good. So, that is something you might have to play with depending on how big you make things in your scene. You may have to change the distances here. I'm going to turn this down a little bit more. I think that... Well, actually, no, I was too close. So let's do back to 5 and 6. Because you don't want... When you're coming back through the door the other way, you want it to open before you get too close so that it doesn't whack you. Although, once again, that's just something you'll have to play with, because this is why I usually, in games, I don't do swinging doors. I do ones that slide up or into walls, like you would have in Doom. Just because I don't want a door whacking me. And I don't know of how to... Well, I suppose if you wanted to swing one way when you came up one way, and when you came the other way for it to swing the other way, you could use something other than the door as a sensor. And that might be something for another tutorial. I just thought of that now. So, as you can see, very simple to do. Just make sure you get your distances right. So I will save this blend file and upload it with this video. There'll be a link in the description, the first link to the post on this video, and we'll have the files for you to download there. I just thank you for watching. Please visit filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K, and I hope that you have a great day.